Well, good morning and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday. Thank you guys so much for joining me here this morning. And we want to send a special shout out and also prayer to our teachers and students, faculty, administration that are in their first full week of school starting this week. So we are definitely praying for you guys to have a great start to the year and just a great year overall. So thank you guys for joining me here this morning. And let's start out with honoring God with our body. God, please guard our mind and our thoughts. God, help me to fix my thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. So I will think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. God, please protect our ears and help us listen to your voice. God, help me to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. God, please protect my eyes from sin's damage. God, I make a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully. God, please speak life over our mouths. God, set a guard over my mouth. Lord, keep watch over the doors of my lips. God, please help our hands to serve generously. God, help me to do good to everyone and especially to those who belong to our family in the faith. God, please protect our reproductive organs and help us to honor you, God, with purity. God, help me to honor you with my body. And God, please protect our feet as we walk along your path. God, let your word be a lamp for my feet and a light on my path. And if this is the first time you're joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, that is something that we definitely try to say every morning just to get our hearts and minds set right as we go and delve into the news because there's always something happening. So let's start with the trending topics on X. And right now it says the McKinney Council approves Islamic Center amid heated opposition. Oh, thank you for that blessing from Indonesia. Blessings to you as well. And then we have O'Keefe video shows non-citizens on Michigan voter rolls at the primary. And then Royce White and ends Cantor Freedom plan 2027 WNBA draft entry as transgender women. So I don't know if this is a super troll, but it is an amazing super troll. So let's start with the McKinney Council approving the Islamic Center. Now, what it looks like is McKinney, Texas, city leaders unanimously approved site plans for a new Islamic Center on Tuesday night after over 5 hours of public comments. Wow. Both for and against the project. The facility will include a sanctuary, classrooms, and gymnasium for the McKinney Islamic Association, which has served the community since the 1990s. Officials confirmed the site was properly zoned and compliant with rules, though more permits are needed. Critics, including the Iranian speaker who shared stories of imprisoned friends in Iran, raised fears of Sharia law's spread and referenced investigations into the sitter's imam, while supporters highlighted religious freedom. The vote sparked calls for council recalls online. Now, it's really sad what's going on because I know that there are Muslims who do not practice Sharia law that do practice Islam. They do. I mean, it is just a thing. But then you have those that are more on the jihadist side, right, of Sharia law, and they've used our laws against us. I'm just saying, they're like, we can go here and claim religious freedom, and what are they going to say? What are they going to do? They can't do anything because we can claim that they're being bigots, and it's weird. You can't say racist because Muslims aren't a race of people, so stop that. You can't play the race game, but you can play the bigotry game, right? And that's exactly what's happening right now. So here is just a little snippet, I guess, of some of the discussions that went on in McKinney, Texas.
We have a motion by Councilman Beller, second by Councilwoman Phelps. Any more discussion? Please cast your vote. All right, this motion carries by a vote of 7 in favor and 0 against. We have a motion by Councilman Beller.
Yep. So that is what's going to happen. And then when they start using Sharia law at the local level, which they will, even though they say they won't, it goes against the Constitution. Then where are you going to be? They're still going to say you're bigots because they're going to claim that Sharia law falls under their religious practice. So this is a quagmire that has happened on U.S. soil. So the question is, what are you going to do? It is a question. Now, the next one I wanted to get into is O'Keefe and the video showing non-citizens on the Michigan voter rolls at primary. So O'Keefe's team identified Afshin Mashli and Fazlohal Aratash, both Iranian nationals and convicted sex offenders. Wow. Per federal and DHS records on Michigan voter rolls for the August 4th primary. Poll workers confirmed their names in the poll books and stated they could cast ballots without ID. Wow. With one saying the registration details were all that mattered. Masheli told the journalist he had voted in the last 3 elections and planned to vote again. DHS responded briefly that they are working on it amid calls for stricter citizenship proof. See, everybody keeps saying, "Oh, well, that's just a few people over here." Well, a few people over here and a few people over there, and so on and so forth. Then it becomes a lot of people, and it shouldn't be any. Period. Now, let's see. We won't play the whole interview, but we will play the first few minutes of it.
Is it okay if I'm not a U.S. citizen? It's okay for me to vote?
All I know is you're registered to vote here.
As long as I'm registered, I can vote, right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
OMG has discovered multiple non-citizens from Iran registered to vote for the 2026 Michigan primary elections. The local police told us that this is an abandoned building, September 8th. Hello. Do you guys know if this is an abandoned building?
Yeah.
When's the last time people lived here? You just drank here? Both of these non-citizens from Iran, a country we're at war with, are also on the Department of Homeland Security's worst of the worst list.
Last name, please.
Last name, Haritash. First name, Fazlullah.
Yep, this is the right place.
One of them is still incarcerated for felony child sex crimes. Yet another reason that it is illegal for him to vote.
I want to catch this guy. All this, I'm going to run off time.
You can see, we got the cars over there with the rims were being looked at. These guys are staring at us. What's more, Michelle admits into a hidden camera on primary day in Dearborn, Michigan on August 4th that he's about to vote.
Your name is Mr. Afshin Mashali, right?
That is correct.
Are you interested to vote?
Yeah, we're going a little bit later.
Despite being a non-citizen. And Michigan poll workers on August 4th were happily prepared to hand these non-citizens voting ballots.
So I have a felony. I'm a sex offender.
Doesn't matter.
As long as my name is there.
If your name is here, you can vote.
Okay, that was not AI. Look. And yet we're supposed to sit back and say, "Oh, our elections are free and fair." There are people that serve their time, right? Not as sex offenders. It might be burglary or something else. Crime is crime, right? But they serve their time. And it takes years and decades for them to get their voting rights back. There's somebody literally incarcerated right now in jail. But again, I was actually on a live over the weekend, and they brought to my attention that felons in California can vote while they're still in prison. While they're still in prison, yes, they give them ballots to vote. Now, under the 14th Amendment, it does say, was it the 13th Amendment? It might be the 13th Amendment. Sorry if I'm getting it mixed up, guys. But it does say that you lose your voting rights. No, does it? you don't lose your voting rights. You become a slave, which is really sad. Um, I know, it's like, which one is worse? But yeah, because that's right. Because you could run for president, go to jail, and still vote. Run for president, I'm saying, and become president of the United States, be in jail. But you couldn't vote. That was it. I was like, I always had like a way to remember it. It's like, okay, you could go to prison, still become president of the United States, but you couldn't vote. That's what it was. And so I guess they've nuanced some of these things. Maybe you can't vote at the federal level, but you can vote in local elections. And it's all crazy. It's all messed up. I'm glad that James O'Keefe has, brought to light what's happening in Michigan. But if it's happening in Michigan, it's happening in other places. And this place in Michigan, it looks like a war zone. Like, what is going on in Michigan? Really? Detroit, what used to be the Motor City, and they just let it fall apart. It just lets me know that there were certain people you didn't care about, and then you allowed other people in, and you're mad that they're here, and they care about their community. They don't care anything about the United States at all, by the way. So I just don't know what this is going to look like in the next couple of years. It's looking really crazy right now. The next one we want to get to is Royce White and Ends Cantor Freedom plan 2027 W draft entry as transgender women. So former NBA players Royce White and Ends Cantor Freedom announced they will enter the 2027 WNBA draft by identifying as transgender women. Royce talked about this years ago. He goes, wouldn't it be funny if, and now he's like actually doing it. Like, that was like, is this trolling? So citing self-identification under league guidelines, White is a 6'8" first round draft pick running for U.S. Senate in Minnesota, faces a 50-year protective order from his ex-wife over threats of abuse allegations, which he denies and is appealing. The moves have prompted the WNBA to consider clarifying eligibility rules on what defines a woman for rosters. Amid that, it tests self-ID policies or serves as political theater. So what are we talking about? Because everybody in the WNBA is okay with transgender people. They've already said that they were. They already said that they were good. Royce is a mess. So Royce White becomes Rashia White in study and brave transformation as the American. Stop. That's a bad wig. That is a $5 wig. Royce, stop it. This is comedy, bro. Okay, I can't. But I can't.
The ship is going down. The fat lady's getting ready. The band's playing. The band's playing, and there aren't enough lifeboats for everybody. So I thought to myself, if America's headed, down the drain, why not experience what it's like to be a woman? I mean, why would I go my entire life in a man's body to be a woman trapped in a man's body? The torture, the anguish of it. I can't even describe it to you. It's been a revelation. It's like, you can do this, dude. You can do this. You can become the best WNBA basketball player the world has ever seen. You can go to the WNBA and elevate the entire game. You can draw more eyes. You think Caitlin Clark's drawing eyeballs to the women's game? Wait till me and Enes Kanter get there. Wait until the LeBron Jameses of the world show up. Wait until your young high school athletes decide, you know what? Why would I want to go hang around with a bunch of other sweaty men in a hyper-competitive setting? Just go on over here to the WNBA and experience being a woman, because we all should get the opportunity to experience being the other sex. It's just a construct anyway. Just a construct. There's nothing to it. There's no difference. But there's no real difference.
Royce is super trolling. Royce, stop that. Oh my goodness, the trolling. The trolling is epic. But he uses logic against them. Just like some people are using our freedoms against us. And see how this is working? Because it's all evil. And we have to hit it head on and say, what are we going to do? What's next? There has to be a line drawn in the sand where we say enough. Because if we don't, are we going to have a country here soon? I don't know. I really, really don't. Now let's check out all sides. Now Netanyahu, he rejects Trump's Gaza peace plan. Shocker, right? So Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu rejected President Trump's 15-point peace plan for Gaza, saying that Israel will not withdraw from Gaza until Hamas is genuinely disarmed. Okay. Woo, woo, woo. Now, with that said, I've got something that I want to pull up really quick because it got me to thinking, what is really the Israeli position in regards to Hamas, right? Because there's a lot of different ties and connections. So I just wanted to pull this up for you guys. Now, part of it's going to make sense, part of it's not. I've got some videos also that I'm going to play for you guys. But I had asked Grok a question earlier. I said, does Netanyahu have any Israeli policies in relation to Hamas? Yes. Benjamin Netanyahu, as Israeli prime minister, has long pursued and articulated Israeli policies specifically toward Hamas, the Islamist group that has controlled Gaza since 2007. These have evolved over time. Okay, so pre-October 7th, generally follow conflict management or deterrent strategy rather than full regime change or occupation. Okay, so critics, including Israeli analysts, have argued this effectively strengthened Hamas's hold as a semi-state actor and prioritized short-term, quiet, and political goals over divisive action. Netanyahu has rejected characterizations of intentional bolstering and pointed to deterrence successes and intelligence assessments that Hamas was contained. Now, we just went back here. He doesn't like it. He's like, till Hamas is genuinely disarmed, because he knows once Hamas is dealt with, spotlights on him, ICC is going to be able to go in and lock him up. But as long as he's got this constant conflict going on with Hamas, nothing's going to happen. And he knows it. He knows it. It's really gross what's happening right now. But I want to shift gears and look at what's happening with the connection with El Said and Hamas and this whole thing. I'm not going to play this whole video from Promethean. I'll leave it for you guys so you can check it out later. But I really wanted you guys to see this.
El Sayed Obama 2.0, another radical left and Muslim candidate that went to all the right institutions and makes all the right political promises. He even attended Oxford as a Rhodes Scholar. But it seems El Sayed's similarity to Obama goes beyond the obvious resume parallels. El Sayed, like Obama, could share a psychological disease that also runs rampant throughout our liberal elite, a disease which threatens to divide our nation into warring factions rather than rebuild what is the greatest country on earth. But it's actually far worse than just that. El Sayed's own family members have ties to the Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas. His entire campaign seems to be another attempt to sow racial and religious violence in the United States and also around the world.
Now, I'm going to jump to another part of the video that I want you guys to see. And again, I will leave the link to this video so you can watch the whole video itself.
not launched an attack on October 7th, Gaza would still be standing, and tens of thousands of Palestinians would still be alive. Now, under the Board of Peace and the Accords, Hamas has already agreed to abdicate political leadership in Gaza, as well as to disarm. The nations of Iraq and Syria have now regained their sovereignty and are embarking on major industrial advancement through the support of Western financing. Saudi Arabia is pursuing a major economic partnership with the United States regarding nuclear energy, and there will be more projects to come as the Iran war is resolved. This is quite a difference in approach. Rather than supporting policies that would help develop the Middle East, El Sayed and his broader political network support the radicalization of the Middle East, while he seeks to sow Marxist conflict here at home. And that's really the tell, which raises the real question. What kind of man builds a career on this kind of violence and division? Well, the kind of man who has been trained for exactly this kind of role. As his bio states, El Sayed attended Oxford as a Rhodes Scholar, and that credential points to the deeper source of the current political fight. The Rhodes Scholarship was actually set up by British imperialist Cecil Rhodes to ensure that ambitious American academics, people like El Sayed and Bill Clinton, are trained in proper British methods. Not American methods, but proper British imperial ones. Today, it seems that El Sayed has been deployed into U.S. politics to instigate the same kind of racial and religious violence that his idol, Obama, had unleashed during his political career. The same kind of divide and conquer tactics of the British Empire. But if this is what British methods look like, then what are American methods? Well, American methods are what we're building. A new political coalition, a coalition of builders, patriots, working class Americans, families, veterans, and young people, all who agree that we can build and should build a better nation and solve the big problems. Who all agree that you can't build a better nation, though, if you don't love that nation.
Yeah. And that's what it's coming back to. Like I said, I played you guys the video last week where he was trying to compare the Sharia law ban to Tulsa, Oklahoma being burned down, and then tried to tie himself somehow to U.S. chattel slavery. I was like, bro, you need to stop. Stop your nonsense. If you're a religion, you're a religion. You just said Sharia law is a law. It is not just a dogma within your religion. It is what you individuals live by and you pledge your allegiance to. You cannot have two allegiances in America. You are either allegiant to America or you're not. It's real simple. And the fact of the matter is you're not. You are a danger if you come anywhere near our U.S. Congress, period. And for people in Michigan to even elevate you to this point, it's very telling what's going on in Michigan, just like what's going on in Minnesota and Missouri. What's going on? We all know. We all know. See, when you hate one specific group of people and you are trying to destroy them, and you'll destroy them by any means necessary, you will end up destroying yourself. Period. It's what it is. You might not like to hear it like that, but that's what it is. Your morning coffee for Monday. This is what we're doing. And Spud says he has that fake Southern Baptist preacher cadence like Obama. He does. He's a really good orator. But when you listen to what he has to say, especially from CAIR, CAIR, which has been, linked to the Muslim Brotherhood, which is linked to Hamas, which is a terrorist organization. It's like, how are you even standing anywhere on stage telling the American people what they should think when you have no ties to the soil? If you don't stop and move and go somewhere. Yeah. Individuals, in my opinion, like him, should be denaturalized and deported immediately. Immediately. And you may not like me saying it. Okay, that's fine. You don't have to like what I'm saying. I'm just telling you what needs to happen. Okay? Or we're not going to have a country here pretty soon. And those are facts. Now, I want to divert just briefly, just to touch on this, because I know last week we were talking about birth tourism and some of the websites. And, President Trump, he has put forth an executive order dealing with the inner workings of how people get their visas and if they are lying to come over here to have a child. So this was as of December 14, 2025, and it talks about giving birth in the United States, right? The FAQs guide, the process, cost, and FAQ guide. So yeah, they are just promoting it like it's okay. Why give birth in the US? The United States practices just soil. So they're basically letting you know, let me make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see it on screen. But yeah, saying just soil, which means any child born on US soil automatically requires US citizenship. Parents who want to give their children a head start in life or seek a relatively easier path to US immigration often choose birth tourism or surrogacy in the US. Recently, many have been concerned about former President Trump's proposal to change birthright citizenship. However, since this challenges the US Constitution, such a policy change is unlikely in the near future. And this is what I want. I want the Kim Wong Ark case reheard so it can be overturned, because it is completely unconstitutional. First of all, his parents were not naturalized. When you read the 14th Amendment, it says born or naturalized. Born was referencing those of chattel slavery, because without it, my children, myself, I could not be an automatic US citizen. That's why it says born or naturalized. If it was just born, my argument would fall flat, but it doesn't. It says or naturalized. That means people who had to be naturalized, and it does not fall to foreign emissaries. Okay, so they can't come over here and just have a child. People that are consulants, emissaries, all that stuff, they can't come here and have a child. Just soil doesn't work for them magically. But for other people, they are supposed to be naturalized, so their children that are born are naturalized in perpetuity. That's what it said. That's why it says born or naturalized, but it was messed up by that case, because Kim Wong-ark's parents could not be naturalized because they were Chinese citizens. At the time, Chinese citizens could not apply for citizenship. They could not be naturalized. And yet, he was given a case, which I find fascinating, because the Dred Scott case actually determined how we got the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, because when Dred Scott went up, he was like, hey, the Constitution says all men are created equal. What are you talking about? Why am I not a citizen? They're like, you're not recognized as a citizen because you're emancipated slavery. It's like, that makes no sense. And they were like, well, you have to go and get legislation written. That's where you get these amendments from. But you were with a case, just goat roped somebody who was not naturalized and just said just soil, when that is not a principle of the United States. It's a principle of England, who are not under their jurisdiction. Again, when you do things that are evil and evil comes upon you, why are you shocked? Okay. I'm just saying. All right, I got one more quick video for you guys to play. No, just get to the nitty gritty of the video, and then we will get on with our day.
Fraud we're finding in Minnesota. The fraud there is exactly as it's been described in the news, in the public, in the courtrooms. The fraud there is staggering. But it is just really an example, Peter, of the fraud across the entire country. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say the following, which is that President Trump has uncovered and shone a light on the greatest heist in history. And the crazy part, Peter, is that all it took was for fraudsters to send an application to Medicaid or to SNAP to pull off the greatest heist in history. And then dutifully, the United States government shoveled money out the door faster than anyone has ever shoveled money. You'd never run a bank like that. You'd never run your house like that. And under President Trump and Vice President Vance's leadership, we're never going to run our country again like that.
Yeah. So I quickly wanted to show you guys the scrolling of the ledger that he had in the background. And so this is at whitehouse.gov/fraud, and it says the fraud ledger. So this is a public record of the fraud, waste, and corruption identified by the Trump administration task force to eliminate fraud since January of last year. So far, they've recovered over $229.9 billion in fraud. 56.4 billion was annualized, and there have been 55.5 billion in indictments and settlements. Now, here's the problem, and this was a question that the interviewer asked: will any of that money be able to be recovered? The answer is no. They can't recover it. They can't. But what they can do are put measures in place so there's no fraud going forward. And, I was actually in a meeting over the weekend, and somebody said, there's a lot of fraud in these entitlement programs. And there is, because there are people driving Lamborghinis and have, 5-10 bedroom mansions collecting welfare. Yes, you heard me right. There are. And there are also those individuals that are collecting welfare who, shouldn't be here, but they have mixed households, right? They had a baby on the soil. So their baby's like, well, my child's a U.S. citizen, so I get housing and you shouldn't. But you're using your child as an anchor. That's the term anchor babies comes from. And they're trying to, get stricter regulations and things going, but this is where we're at. So for HHS, they uncovered 96.2 billion in fraud, USDA 6.7 million in fraud, the Department of Labor 7 billion in fraud, HUD 329 million in fraud. That's what they uncovered. Stopped HHS 46.1 billion, USDA over 507 million. That's almost $500 million that they were able to stop. Okay. And then in the Department of Labor, 2.5 billion that they were able to stop. HUD 83.8 million they were able to stop. In the Small Business Administration, 122.9 billion. 1.3 billion was stopped. Department of Education, they found 2 billion in fraud, and they were able to stop 1.7 billion of that. Veterans Affairs, they found 135 million in fraud. 2 billion of that was stopped. In DHS, 1.3 billion they found, in 2.2 billion they've been able to stop. Yeah. I wanted to see, let's see, we got DHS, we got VA, Eds, Ball. Okay. I thought Social Security would be up here. That's what I was looking for. Social Security was like, what is going on? That's the one I want to see. Are y'all still working on that one? Because I don't see that one on the list. And that was the one, like I said, that was the one I'm looking for. Because Social Security is oh my goodness, the Medicare fraud deferrals. And we saw with Nick Shirley, he's been uncovering a lot of those situations. So again, I will make sure that you have this link in the repost so you can check this out for yourselves. I'm grateful that they're finding it, but it's really sad and devastating that people will cry out, the government's not doing enough. But there's so much fraud running rampant. And in my opinion, I could say, yeah, the government hasn't done enough to audit to make sure that we don't have this fraud. That's a fair statement. But see, when you have all of this fraud going on, it's not going to the people that it should be going to. And at this point, it's abuse and it's egregious and it needs to stop. But the way it stops is at the state level, because humans are at the state level. And at the federal level, people need to stop pushing the buttons. And the people hired within the state to help these federal agencies and help people get these dollars, however they come, they need to stop pushing the buttons as well, because they know some of this fraud is going on. It's really, really sad. But I want to thank you guys for joining me here on Monday Recap. Tomorrow we will be back with Tell It All Tuesday. So again, thank you so much for joining me today. And remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered. We'll see you in the next one.